Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking layout for you, and I am using a cut file from the Cut Shop today. So this is the cut file. It is called the Floral Frame, and at the beginning I was thinking I was going to use it with these pink paisley Page Taylor Evans Whimsical Collection papers, and I was thinking I would go ahead and use this paper to back my flowers. And it's pretty crazy, but I really wanted to use it. So I went ahead and did that off camera. Um I cut the file again, but I took out the little flower part so it would just cut the outline and cut that, and then I messed around with it a little bit off camera, and I ended up not really liking it with the photograph that I chose or the design that I wanted to change the design of the page after I messed around just a little bit. So I decided I would go ahead and take this cut file, use my scissors, and cut up the cut file. I Here is a little spoiler alert. I did cut this again. I have cut this file again already, and I probably will use it as a frame as intended. But for this layout, it just worked better. I loved the flowers and I didn't want to give up the flowers. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to use the flowers, but I'm going to cut this up and make it work for the story that I wanted to tell and the photograph and the papers and all of that. And so I'm not going to make you watch me cut all of this up here, but in just a second, you're going to see them all cut up. So there it is. So originally I was thinking I was going to use this as my background paper. It is purple and she is wearing a purple shirt. So I was thinking I might just leave them white and not back them, even though I had already cut out something to back them with. Then I decided, and I'm just, being real honest here. I went through several stages for this layout. It took me a while, and I thought I maybe would use white cardstock and then go ahead and back the flowers. Um, I found that purple frame, and I'm like, that's as good as using purple paper. And then I found a few other purple elements and pulled those out, and I was thinking, maybe I could back the file with papers and then use some purple elements to bring out the purple in the picture. But none of this ends up happening really. So a lot of this doesn't end up getting used. So now I'm back again, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut back the cut file, just the leaves here. And I'm using, so that original paper that I thought I was going to back all of my flowers with is this green on the back. And so I decided to go ahead and use this green on all of the leaves while I was thinking about my next steps. So you can see there laying on the table, you see a light purple um, cut out pattern paper, and then there's a dark purple edge around the outside. That's all from the same paper. And I've cut it apart thinking I might use that purple to back these flowers, and I might use the white as my background. So that is kind of what my thinking is at this point, but that ends up changing again. I changed my mind a lot on this layout, but I like how it ended up. So you can see that I backed a couple of the flowers with the purple paper that I had out. And I end up pulling that apart in just a second because I add these flowers to that paper right there that kind of looks like a quilt, sort of. And I love that so much. So I end up pulling apart the purple and backing all of the flowers with this paper right here. So you can see how I have cut this paper using my silhouette. I took out all of the inner workings of the flower so that it would just cut the outline, which made it so much easier to back the file because then you just have to glue it together. That's it. Hardly any fussy cutting at all for that part. So now I've done that with all of these flowers, and I still have a few left, and I might end up actually backing a few more and adding them to this. But I'm thinking at this point I'm going to go with this orange paper, and I'm going to I'm going to do like a diagonal from the bottom left up to the upper right. And I really like the way this is now coming together. So my hope is to be able to use that photograph with the frame around it that's purple, and then add a few other purple elements. But then I saw all these other flowers, and so I thought, oh, maybe I should add these in. And as I'm working on it, I like it, but it's not exactly, I'm just kind of throwing some stuff on there. I pulled out that I really like the butterfly that's on there, and the butterfly has some gold elements in it. And so I thought, oh, maybe I will use some of these gold leaves, maybe some of the gold flowers. I love this collection and I love all the parts in it, but I ended up deciding against that. I kind of go back to one of my earlier ideas about having just pops of purple. So now I'm looking at the sticker sheet and I find this sticker that says make time for joy. And I go ahead, I don't want to stick it down yet. I'm not ready to commit, but I think if I add a little bit to pop it up, if I add a little bit of that adhesive there to pop it up, that I wouldn't have to stick it down at this point. And so I did that. So now I have my purple pieces there's some purple in the flowers, but then I have the purple around the photo. I have the purple butterfly, and then I have that little purple uh, thing, what do you call it? Banner. Yeah, there you go. That's called, says make time for joy. And then I went back to the paper banner, which I've used before, the paper that has all the banners, that one right there, that I've used before. And I started cutting out things that match the sentiment of what I wanted. So the things that I cut out are one says, oh, so lovely. One says happy. One says looking good. And then fabulous and sweet. So I picked colors that I liked, and I picked the sayings that I liked, and I just cut those out, and I'm gonna just throw those around the page a little bit. The other thing that I grabbed is a while back here was I grabbed the bright green leaves that are in one of the ephemera packs. I have two ephemera packs kind of stuck together here, like all grouped together. One of them is the main ephemera pack and one is all florals. And so I have both of those in my stash, and so I have them all sitting out there, and I'm thinking probably the leaves are from that floral set, but I don't really know. So then I went back to my pattern papers to look to see if I could find some more purple butterflies, because I wanted a couple more to make kind of like a visual triangle, but also I just wanted that one not to feel so lonely. So I found that paper that has all of the butterflies all over it, and I imagine I will at some point cut all of those out. And I just went ahead and did that. Then I went back in the archives and I found this pattern paper. I knew that that page had created some paper a while back, and this is, I think, Oh My Heart collection, that had lipsticks on it, because I remember thinking I'm probably never going to use that paper, at least not that side of that paper. And so I went back and I looked and I found this paper, and I'm cutting out those 3 pieces of lipstick there, because I haven't even talked about the story or the photo yet. So the photo is a picture of my daughter a few years back. This is from 2013, and Grandma had been at the house, and when Grandma left, we discovered that she had given B some of her lipstick, and so B, I think there was actually some eyeshadow involved as well, and so B decided that right now would be a really good time to put that on, and so she did. She looked excuse me, she looked a little bit like the Joker in the Batman series, and she was obsessed with Batman at the time, so we kind of joked around about her looking kind of like the Joker, but I ended up settling on the title Maybe It's Maybelline, and I don't know if any of you are old enough, I don't know if those commercials are still around, but Maybe It's Maybelline was always the slogan for Maybelline makeup. And so I had put this photo in front of my one true love, and I said, hey, you got a title? And that's the first thing he said. He didn't even drop a beat. He goes, Maybe It's Maybelline. I'm like, perfect. So I ended up just putting a little bit of tangled thread behind my photo, behind some of the flowers, and then I decided that I needed just a little bit more something. So I decided to go ahead and cut a little slit out of the top up here, kind of messy looking, and I roughed it up a little bit. And I'm going to put a little of that purple paper that I'd originally thought that I might back the cut file with right there. And then I put a little bit more at the bottom. And I really like how that, I feel like that added kind of a finishing touch. And then one more thing that I do off camera is I use my machine my sewing machine to stitch a line going to each of the butterflies, each of the 3 butterflies, kind of off the edge up to the butterfly. And you'll be able to see those in the close-ups, which are coming up here pretty quickly. So I went ahead and now I've glued everything down except for these little bits. And so I'm just going to glue down those little banners. I'm going to add, and maybe I've already done this, add a little bit of tangled thread. I might have done that off camera. This one took me a little while to make, like a day-ish, like not the whole day or anything like that. But it did take me, kind of I'd walk away and come back, walk away and come back to it a little bit of time. There's some tangled thread. I think I ended up using some orange and some green tangled thread in various areas behind, like I said, the photo, and then a little bit behind some of the flowers. I think I ended up doing it behind each of the 3 groups of banners is what I ended up doing, if I remember right. But it took me a while, mostly because I had to change gears several times before I was satisfied. I started with the frame and then changed my mind a couple of times about how I wanted to back it or what I wanted to use for background paper. And then originally I was going to do some journaling on this and tell the story about Grandma, but there are a couple other photos in this series that I might end up using. And when I scrapbook those, hopefully I'll make it so that it fits into the design a little bit better. So I almost put some journaling strips underneath the title, but I don't know. I think it kind of speaks for itself as to what was going on. Her face is just covered with lipstick. So anyway, it was really fun to work with this, and it was fun to modify the cut file a little bit. I like to do that every once in a while so that we don't, a lot of us use the same cut files, and then our layouts, this just helps the layouts look a little bit different, even just using the same cut file. I hope you continue to check out the other designers and what they have been making using Ashley's cut files, the Cut Shop cut files, because they are pretty, I work with a bunch of really great designers, and it's so much fun to be on this team. I really am enjoying myself so much. And check out the files. There's always some good ones. There's even some freebies in the new store. I will link the new store below in the comments so that you can see she moved all of her cut files over. It's easier to get the freebies and such. So I think that's about it. I think I add a few enamel dots here, and then off screen I'm going to add the date because I just forgot to stamp the date. And I wasn't going to come on camera just to stamp the date. I thought you could probably figure out how I did that. So I do that off camera. And here come the close-ups here pretty quickly. But check out the new store. Check out all the free files. Buy a few while you're there. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and maybe a subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks a lot for stopping by.